Arsenal stay perfect in the Champions League as we go 7 wins from 7 by beating Inter Milan 3-1 at the San Siro. We're going to look back at the game and all of the talking points from an eventful game. We're then going to discuss the upcoming Premier League fixture, and it's a big one as Man United visit the Emirates. Always a spicy encounter. What can we do this year to ensure that we get 3 points to stay ahead in the title race? We're also going to take a look at some transfer news as Joe and Yeambele completes his loan to Marseille. What can we expect from his loan move and how will it aid his development? All of this to come on episode 39 of Red Lines and Half Spaces. Welcome to episode 39, one before the big 4-0 of Red Lines Half Spaces. Perfection. That's what Arsenal are targeting at the moment. Perfection in the Champions League. We have gone 7 out of 7, beating Inter Milan in the San Siro to continue our perfect run. But here's someone else who's perfection. That's our co-host, Joe. Look at that. I thought about that all morning and I got it.
That is so much better, yeah. Congratulations, man. I'm so proud of you.
It's smooth, my friend. How you been?
Do you know what, mate? After being called perfection, I don't think anything can get any better than this. I mean, it's just I'm on top of the world, mate. You've made my what is it, Friday? You made my Friday, so thank you very much. Very well.
I try to bring a bit of sunlight into your life and to other people's lives.
Yeah, it's been a long old week at work. Looking forward to the game at the weekend. I feel we need to right some wrongs in terms of Premier League, but no, just annoying that we have to wait till Sunday again because
but Sundays. I love a Sunday 4:30. Don't you? I mean, we'll talk about it, but I love Sunday.
Saturdays for me, mate. I love Saturday football. So waiting till Sunday for me is a killer. But anyway, how are you? We'll get into the game. How's things with you this week?
Yeah, good, mate. It's enjoyed the game this week. Really enjoyed it. I'm and then obviously on Wednesday watching the football as well. It was a little bit different because obviously. It was games that I don't think were as consequential, and I don't think there was bigger games. Inter Milan versus Arsenal, I think, was the biggest game of the week, personally, in terms of stature. Not necessarily the game itself, ebb and flow, because some other games look really interesting. But in terms of stature, Inter versus Arsenal was the biggest. So really enjoyed that. Yeah, just good week. Just getting ready before things get hectic next week, and I will reveal later on why. But let's dive into it, Joe, because we've got lots to talk about. We are going to cover the Inter Milan game this weekend in the Champions League, but then we're going to preview the big one at the weekend, which is Arsenal versus Manchester United at the Emirates Stadium. We're also just going to talk a little bit about the transfer market. It's been very quiet. Do Arsenal need to go into the market? And then the predictors game, where we hand over to our lovely co-host Joe for that one. But let's dive into it. Joe, Inter 1, Arsenal 3. Going into this game, when I did the preview show with Alex, who kindly stepped in for you last week, we talked about that this was not necessarily a game that we needed to win because, again, our record in the Champions League has been really good. And we've got this position now where we are able to rotate and not necessarily sacrifice, but we weren't as desperate for the win as for other results. Because of we were guaranteed the top 2 pretty much, or we didn't need to qualify. How did you view this? Because I thought we may need to, there was a need for rotation, and we did rotate, and we'll talk about that. But how did you feel going into this game, given the context of Man United the weekend, and obviously our position in the Champions League for this game?
Obviously, coming off the back of the Forest game was massive disappointment from me personally. I'm sure you felt the same, yeah, and a lot of Arsenal fans did feel likewise. Just because it was another big opportunity missed. So it was nice to have another game so quickly. Going into the Inter game, I've always got a bit more confidence going into European games because I think European football suits us. You don't get the teams parking the bus like they do in the Premier League. There's not this sort of universal approach just to low block Arsenal. So we're involved in some quite good games. We play some nice football. Opposition teams like Inter did had some chances themselves. And it's just nice to watch kind of end-to-end football, because I feel like at the moment, certainly over the last few months, it's very much been a case of every Arsenal game we watch, we're pretty much up against a low block. And it's quite boring to watch sometimes, I think. Obviously, we get good results out of it and we're playing well, and that's sort of results aside, just in terms of watching the same thing over and over again. I find it quite repetitive and it can be quite boring. So it's always nice going into Europe because it's a different style of football and we know we're going to get sort of a bit more of an entertaining game. Um, team itself, I was quite happy with the sort of rotation. I think we did need to rotate, given that obviously Man United looked very good against City. And we've got them this weekend, finally getting back to the Emirates after 4 away games, which will hopefully give the team a bit more impetus. Fans can give us a bit of a boost as well, push the team on. But no, I think it was important to rotate, and I think Arteta got it about right for this one. I think there was a sort of a.
So why don't we talk about lineup, since you led us into it very nicely? David Raya in goal, Yuri Timber, Saliba, Mosquera starting, and I want to talk about Christian Mosquera because I thought actually he had a really good performance considering his first game back. Miles Lewis-Skelly getting an outing, and I think actually did very well considering the talk that we've had with him about him. Mikel Merino, Martin Zubimendi, Eberechi Eze, and I do want to talk about Eze as well. Bukayo Saka had a very good game as well. Jesus, we have to talk about, and Leandro Trossard. You mentioned the rotation, good amount of rotation here. Obviously, the concerns here, given that Man United, as you said, are coming on the weekend, Saka and Trossard both starting, and Zubimendi, who there are certain players who I do not want to. If I can reduce their game time, I would want to do. And Zubimendi is one of them because he's so integral to what we do. But there's no other player really like him. We keep talking about Norgard should come in, but again, Norgard did not start this one. How did you view the rotation and the usage of some of these players who I personally think shouldn't have started, but I get why he did it because obviously he's respecting the opponent. You know, Inter Milan, you want to be respectful of, big team, and their team showed it. They played their full first team 11. Where did you stand with this lineup, Joe?
I was delighted to see Christian Mosquera back in the team. I think at times he struggled a bit, but that's understandable, having been out for as long as he was. Inter Milan, they're no mugs, are they? They're a fantastic team. So he's not being eased back in. He's just been thrown into the deep end. And I thought he equipped himself really, really well in the game. In fairness, there's a few moments, like I said, you could see the rustiness. But on the whole, I think he's done what he's done since the first time he played for us, and that was just putting a really solid, good performance. Good to see Gabriel get a rest. Obviously, he had that knock recently, so good to sort of give him a bit of time off. Happy with Lewis-Skelly at left back. Thought it was the ideal game to bring him in for. In terms of Zubimendi, would have liked to seen him sort of maybe given a bit of a rest. But the only thing I think you could argue, Yem, is that the role he plays, he's not often sort of making sprints. He's not sort of doing those quick, sharp movements. So could you make an argument that kind of limits the wear and tear on the body somewhat? Because he doesn't have that explosive thing where you can pull hamstrings, and he just kind of patrols, if you like, around these areas. It's always moving, constantly jogging. So maybe less sort of strain on his body, which is why he can play the minutes he is doing. Good that Rice got a rest, because I think he's going to be really important this weekend. Again, Marino come in and done more than the good job. And Eze in the 10, understandable bringing him in for this game. And then the front three, I think it's kind of what I expected, to be honest, mate, because obviously you had Madueke start at the weekend, didn't you, against Forest? Yoker has obviously started that game as well. So, yeah, the bit of rotation in front three maybe would have been nice to kind of get them off a bit earlier and give them a rest. But they were rested for the most part against Forest at the weekend. So, understandable.
Yeah, it was understandable. And I agree with you. You know, most of the rotation was done really well. And I thought, you know, it was needed given the context of Man United, but you don't want to risk your competitiveness in the game. You know, you have to respect Inter Milan, as I said before. Joe, let's touch upon a few of the standout performances and some of the talking points from this game. Christian Mosquera, you mentioned him, came in, has been out recently with an injury, and slotted back in really well. And as you said, bit of rustiness, but he was going up against Marcus Thuram, who is a big physical striker. And I can understand why Mikel Arteta wanted to go with Mosquera, because actually given that Marcus Thuram is an experienced international, Mosquera is, relatively inexperienced. I thought he did really well considering that it was his first game back. He looked mobile. He looked up for the fight. Maybe got beat a few times, but I don't think that downplayed him. I think he made a few good clearances as well. I just think every time I see him, I think he looks really good, and he's a different profile from Gabriel Saliba in terms of his stature and his ability to be physical. Not the greatest in the air, which is very odd. I think he needs to work on that. But his passing is really good as well. I really like, we all loved him when he came in, and we missed it. We desperately missed him.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a really good outing from him, and it's really key that we keep him, because for games like Wigan, which is coming up soon, potentially Chelsea in the Carabao Cup semi-final, these games, he's going to be important, isn't he?
Yeah, massively, mate. And I think you've hit the nail on the head by saying how much we missed him. Given his signing at the start of the season, did you think you'd be saying you missed Christian Mosquera this season? Probably not, but that just goes to show how well he's done for us. We really could have done with him over the last sort of couple of months. Obviously, that injury to him was nightmare scenario, really, because it meant that depth that we had at the back was totally gone. So it was great to see him on and getting some minutes. Like we said, mate, he just comes in. He's been brilliant since he signed for us. He just sort of plays with a maturity beyond his years. He kind of looks like a well-seasoned centre-half, and he's only 21. So he's got all the attributes, I think, like you said, in terms of the aerial ability that can be sort of worked on and coached. That's not a problem. But in terms of what he does on the ball, in terms of how mobile he is, sort of like his physical profile, he's an absolute dream for us to have a centre-back. And for the little money we pay for him, it's a bit of a steal. So no, going forwards, I see him getting plenty more minutes. The Kairat Almaty game obviously is now just a nothing game, so there'll be big rotation in that, and I imagine that will be a game for him to get some minutes in. Wouldn't be surprised if you saw him come in for the game against Chelsea in the League Cup as well. Obviously the FA Cup. So there's plenty of competitions, plenty of games, and he'll soon be up to speed. And then I think you'll see him doing what was happening before, and that was coming in the back end of Premier League games just to give Saliba, Gabriel, just take the sort of stress out of their legs a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be vital going forward. You just mentioned a couple of games, but it's also his position, his ability to play right back as well, which is a bit of a problem for us. Joe, Miles Lewis-Skelly, we have talked about him, and there are concerns around it. I still have concerns, but I thought he had a very good game this one. I thought he was much more lively, looked much sharper, still looks a little bit off the pace in terms of his physicalness. I think there was points at which, that Luis Enrique got in, Martinez got in, and he looked a little slow, but he looked much better in the build-up, didn't he?
Yeah, this was a lot closer to what we're used to seeing from Miles last year. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't at that kind of high level, but it was a lot better from him. And do you know what's funny? I find that when you watch sort of Arsenal, you become so wrapped up in like the Arsenal game and the team that you forget that all these players are like individuals. And I don't know if you saw his interview he done after the game with I think it was on Prime, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was watching that and I was thinking, my God, he's only a kid. Like you see him on the TV, you hear him talking, and you kind of forget he was so good last year. You kind of just think, oh, why aren't you that good again? And get really frustrated. I myself am sort of culpable for it, of getting really sort of frustrated with him. But watching that interview after the game, it just kind of brought it back that this is only a kid in this team, and what he done last year was outstanding. And do you know what? He is going to have sort of peaks and troughs as a young player coming in. It's going to happen. But no, he had a really good game. I thought the interview he did after the game was really good as well. You could see sort of the enthusiasm, and it's still there, still the hunger to be a part of this team and get better. So hopefully, mate, this might be the game that sort of gives him a bit of a kickstart, and you can go on from here and just keep betting better and better. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you want to see Miles Lewis-Skelly do well. We all love him. He's an Arsenal, he's a Hale End youth product, and I think it's frustration, isn't it, that he's not what he was last season. Again, to your point, we take them as Arsenal players, not as individuals, and it's a good point you made about we don't think about the person. We think about, they're not the same player. As a player is like a robot, isn't it? You should be exactly the same as last year, and you should not be deviating from it at all. So. Yeah, hopefully more game time. And as you said, there's more games coming, which he will get time in, because obviously, and we'll talk about the news, Ricardo Calafiore and Pierre Nkapie are on their way back. Joe, another performance that we do have to touch on is Eberechi Eze. Had a few bright spots, but still, I don't think he is. He's not quite there, is he? And I think there is a concern about him and his tackling. There was a note about this, that his tackling is kind of it does lead to players getting onto the ball quicker, opposition players getting onto the ball quicker, because he's not really as forceful in the tackle, and that's to be expected. He's not been used to it. At Crystal Palace, he was given the ball. He wasn't expected to track back. At Arsenal, there's a very different requirement. He definitely has the ability. We can see that, because what you see is a player who's left-footed, right-footed, has the shots, can change the dynamic of a transition really quickly. But there is a struggle there, isn't there, with Eze? And you can see it as he came off. He looked really thoughtful about what's been going on, what he's doing. And where do you see Eze at the moment? Is he kind of in this, not quagmire, but very much struggling with how to put his stamp on this team?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, mate. I think he is sort of struggling. And I think when you've played for the teams that he has done, if you look at who he's played for sort of before coming to Arsenal, it's always been teams who aren't expected to have a lot of the ball, teams who don't dominate possession, teams that kind of rely on a quick transition game, get up the pitch and sort of make something happen. Arsenal are the complete opposite of what he's been used to playing in. And we've referenced this before when we've spoken about Eze. You just have to look at the things that Declan Rice has said, what Mikel Merino said, all these players who have joined Arsenal and said, wow, like this has been sort of such a mind-boggling experience, and getting my head around systems, the way Arsenal play, what the manager wants us to do, where he wants us to be at certain times. And it's all stuff that takes time to get used to. And if Eze takes 6 to 12 months to get used to that, and we don't see the best of him this year, but then next year he lights us up, then so be it. It's not a problem. I still think, like you saw against Spurs, he's capable of creating big moments, and we don't have many players like that. So yeah, he might drop 6 out of 10s, 5 out of 10s, sort of for 5 or 6 games, but then there's going to come a game sort of every now and again where you'll get a 10 out of 10 of him, and he will just create magic. And that's what we don't have a lot of. And if that's the sacrifice, then I'm more than happy with it, because you'll have Martin Odegaard, who comes in and he's not been in the best form, but he gives you sort of 7s as a fairly regular thing. You know what you're getting. So if the offset of that is then to have someone who's less reliable, but is capable of creating magic once a month, maybe, depending on how many games you've got, then I think Eze can really still be a massive contributor to where we go this season. Like we said in this game, again, kind of what we used to seeing from him, not really having a massive influence. Played a part in the first goal, to be fair. He sort of worked the position quite nicely, fed the ball in, followed his run. Obviously, it bypassed him to Timber, whose chop was not great. But yeah, I think he done enough, mate, for me. I think, like I said, we're in this one, not the best, but he'll be on the bench, I imagine, for United. I think Odegaard will start. And you wouldn't be surprised if Eze came on and scored an important goal, because that's the kind of play you've got in him. So yeah, I'm not losing faith in him. I don't think many people will. He's an Arsenal boy at heart. He's like Saka. He's like Miles. He's like Ethan. We're all just so willing him on to do well, because that's all we want as Arsenal fans, to see an Arsenal fan playing in the Arsenal team and making magic moments. He's done it against Spurs, and I wouldn't rule that out and say that would be the last thing he does for us.
I don't think so either. I think he's got too much quality to not make it Arsenal. As you said, the Spurs game showed exactly what he can do. And also, that's where he's most dangerous, in that kind of pocket just outside the area where he can shoot. And he's got such a good shot. That's the difference between him and Odegaard. Odegaard, I think, is much more of a smooth passer, metronome, will give you the rhythm of the game, whereas Eze will take the ball by the scruff of the neck outside the area, and he's got the ability to score a goal from wherever he can. Another two players I want to talk about, Bukayo Saka, I thought had a very good game, was the constant troublemaker for DeMarco, who is a no slouch at left back. How did you view Bukayo Saka's game, Joe?
Yeah, he looked sort of very good again, didn't he? He had one of those Saka performances he's had this year where doesn't necessarily score a goal, doesn't necessarily sort of create a goal, but he's just always doing something. He's always causing problems for the defence. He's just always the man we go to, and he's just constantly making things happen for us. And he's just he draws so many players towards him. We just, I think, need to become better at spotting that and then picking the gaps that are left when players are kind of moving over to try and help the fullback stop him. The one that springs to mind for me was in the second half when he put in a great ball to Trossard, who had a back post volley just wide. But again, he had no right on his weaker foot to put in such a good delivery from that angle. But it just shows how dangerous he is now, mate. I can't remember who was talking about it, but I think it might have been Wayne Rooney potentially. It was just, could be wrong, but someone was talking about how dangerous he is and the fact that he's now able to go on his left foot or right foot in equal measure. He's no longer a predominantly left-footed player because he can just get to a byline and stand up an unbelievable ball with his right foot. And it's just taken his game to another level where before, if you showed Saka on his right, you might have had a bit of joy against him, might have kept him fairly quiet. But now if you show him on the right, he's just as capable of putting in a good ball with his right foot as his left foot.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about Bukayo Saka's game, that it has gone up a level in terms of his danger. But I think obviously we're looking at his goals and output. That's, I think, a key stat. But he had a really good game. Joe, I'm going to talk about the last person in relation to the goals because we have to talk about Gabriel Jesus. The first goal was a really quick goal on 10 minutes where I think we flew out the blocks against Inter really quickly and really pressed them high up. And it benefit us really well because obviously it came from I think it was a Marino shot, which wasn't great. And Gabriel Jesus was really quickly in there to get a striker's goal, which was great, wasn't it? How did you view that first goal? Because that really was what kind of we lack. I mean, look, again, we slate Victor Gyökeres, and we're going to talk about Gyökeres because obviously he had an involvement in this game, but this kind of goal is the goal I like. And I think that's the kind of goal that is not very Gabriel Jesus-like, but it was in his kind of return little spell last year where he was getting more poachers goals, wasn't he? This was a really good one where he came in on the blind side and got that touch, which got it into the goal.
Yeah. What I liked about this goal, is when Zubamendi gave Eze the ball kind of in the middle of the pitch about 35 yards from goal. I think there were 6 players ahead of Eze, and it just showed like a real attacking intent, which was really good to see. Like you said, I think we started the game really well, really high tempo, sort of creating some chances. Lovely little interplay around the box between Marino, Jesus, also went to Miles, who played it across, and then Timber scuffed his shot. But Jesus really alive to that, to then sort of get his toe on it and almost flick it, if you like, sort of past the goalkeeper. Not the sort of finish you kind of anticipate from Jesus, really. You expect to see goals like you did in, was it against Villa, wasn't it? Where he took it really nicely. You kind of assume that's Gabriel Jesus' goal. But this one was a proper poacher's kind of finish, just in the right place. Ball's coming past him and he just whips his foot round and sticks it in the bottom corner. Really good finish. And I think a goal we deserved given how we started the game.
Yeah, I thought it was well deserved as well. We really had a lot of high energy at the start of it. Inter got back into the game with a goal from Susic, who had just come into the game. Really good goal. Like you can't fault it. It was an absolute smasher. The problem is obviously we were a little bit open. This was a very back and forth game, I thought, even when we were far ahead. I think Inter still were dangerous. But obviously they started to find their feet a little bit more, and then they got the goal through Susic. It was a fabulous goal, wasn't it, Joe? You couldn't do anything about that one, really, could you?
No, to be fair, Mosquera makes a brilliant challenge, doesn't he? On, I think, was it Thuram who went through. Brilliant block.
Yeah.
There's a few ricochets there. I think someone has a shot, it hits off Miles, blocks it well, cannons off Saliba, and it just rolls perfectly into the path of Susic. But it was an outstanding finish, and it, unfortunately for opposition teams against us, that's what it takes to score against Arsenal now. You have to sort of have a magic moment like that, or a fortunate moment, because we don't give a lot away, especially in Europe. So full credit to him. It was a cracking goal, and it's just one of those where the ball just breaks quite nicely for him, but he had a lot to do and he did it really well.
Yeah, and I mean, this was his first start for a while, actually. He'd come from Dinamo Zagreb, I think, in the summer, but really amazing, really good shot. We then got our way back into we started to lead the game again, this time through a set piece, with Gabriel Jesus. Again, really, really well worked corner as per usual. Cannoned off the crossbar a little bit, so a little bit of luck, but Gabriel Jesus alive to the chance again. And, again, another poacher's finish. You can't argue with it, can you, Joe?
No, like you said, mate, set piece again, ole. It's a reoccurring theme for us this season. It's just such a potent weapon for us. Teams know it's coming. Teams know that we're dangerous from set pieces, but there's still nothing they can do. I mean, I think there was about 4 or 5 players from Inter Milan on the goal line when Gabriel Jesus headed the ball in. So it just shows that they're just panic stricken when Arsenal get set pieces, and they just can't stop
what
us.
I liked
Mate.
about this one, though, Joe, what I liked about this one, Joe, was that the way it looped towards Leandro Trossard, the shortest player on the pitch at the back post. He headed it across, and it was like, you didn't pick that one out, did you? Because, you know, you saw it looping very slowly, you know, as it was coming. And then you thought, hey, Trossard's on the end of it. Could be. Then he headed it across. Really, that was well worked. That was not just pure instinct. That was really well worked, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, whether sort of Trossard's this genius in the air that we didn't know about, and Arsenal kind of said, you just hang about the back post, they'll obviously follow the big players, and he's left with a free header at the back door. I mean, you don't put anything past Arsenal and Nicolas Jover at the moment, do you, when it comes to set pieces? It could well be just another very well executed plan, and it came off to perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we do have to talk about the third goal, because second half, it started to stabilise a little bit. Inter kind of came on to us, we came on to them. But the substitutions came in. Victor Gyökeres came in for Gabriel Jesus, and Martinelli came in for Trossard. And it was a Martinelli superb through ball to Victor Gyökeres, who held the ball up well, tried to pass it to Saka. Saka, it kind of bounced around, but it came back to Victor Gyökeres, who absolutely curled a beauty into the not top corner, but to the side of the goalkeeper. But this is a much needed goal for Victor Gyökeres. He scored against Chelsea, but you could see that it was kind of, he wasn't as happy as he was with it. This one was like a burst of emotion. You can tell with some players that the goal means more to it, because it's his kind of goal, isn't it? It's the goal that he wanted, that to show that he can strike a ball from, you know, outside the box or inside the box, that he's got that shot. But it was a superb goal, wasn't it, Joe?
Oh, yeah, it's outstanding, wasn't it? I mean, all credit to Martinelli for that. That is a confident Gabriel Martinelli you saw playing that pass, because more often than not, you see him kind of head down. He'd probably try and run it out of there and end up give away a throw in or losing the ball. But he saw the run, played an absolutely fantastic ball, the sort of thing that if it was Zubamendi, we'd all be going mad over. But Martinelli just equally as good, equally as technical, brilliant, and it was just a sensational ball. Gyökeres did well, kind of bustled his way through like we know he does, good strength. Thought we'd lost the chance when he played it into Saka, and it kind of, like you said, ricocheted, but it fell for him beautifully. And he took the goal so well. That wasn't a striker who's lacking confidence there. That was a really top draw finish. And like you said, mate, a really good point that the goal against Chelsea is kind of bits and pieces, not anything you can really get excited about, because you're on the goal line, you stick it in. But this was a goal where he can sort of say, I took this chance, I made this goal, this was all me, look what I can do. And that's his first real moment since Leeds, probably, where he ran through and obviously got that goal into the bottom corner. So, no, hopefully, mate, a really good moment for him. Hopefully gives him plenty of confidence going forwards now that he's produced what he is, a worldie, really, wasn't it?
And that's the thing. Look, we have never doubted Victor Gyökeres' shooting ability or ability to finish, because you see it in the training, you see it in the warm-ups, you see it when he takes a shot. He has got a finish on him. He can leather the ball, and this goal showed it. What our problem is obviously the rest of it. But that's, again, partly him and partly on the team. And an example of this was actually when Saka was running through and Victor was literally, please, pass me the ball, pass me the ball. And Saka had the shot with his right foot, which can off the crossbar. It's, again, another little bit of frustration for him. And I can totally get, as a striker, if I was in his position, I'd be going, this is really frustrating. I'm getting in good positions, but I'm not getting the ball, because look at me, I can finish. How would you view that, Joe? If you're the striker, you really would get a bit annoyed at the lack of service you're getting from your wingers, isn't it? We talked about this already, but again, it just showed itself in this game, didn't it?
Yeah, it's very similar to the Chelsea one, wasn't it? When Saka got down the right-hand side and had just before we scored the goal, he could have just rolled it across and Gyökeres is there with a tap in. Same against Inter. Don't get me wrong, the defender's in a good position, but Saka's good enough that he could pick a pass through there, whether he throws a body feint, whether he sort of slows down and then speed, whatever he has to do to sort of get that half a yard on his man. And then he's just got to roll it across the box and Gyökeres has got tap-ins again. So, yeah, I think we're all starting to see it now. And I imagine that as fans, if we're noticing it, I'd like to think that the training ground is being noticed, and maybe that's something that is being mentioned by coaching staff. Maybe that's conversations between players. But hopefully going forward, it's going to be something that we see, we make more of, because Gyökeres, he's able to sort of find them gaps in the middle, and he's done it a few times now, and we've not found him. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, he just sort of clicks him, and players will start to understand where Gyökeres is, the positions he's going to hold up and take in the middle, and now they can hopefully start finding him in them positions, and we could see him get some more goals.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's hope for that. But obviously, the result means that we are top of the table with Bayern Munich in second. But because of results elsewhere, it has guaranteed our top two finish, which is amazing. You know, again, you look at our progression from last season. Our progression in the Champions League has been really, really amazing. But to look as comfortable as we have done in the group phase, Joe, 7 out of 7, Kara Almaty to come, you would assume realistically that Kara Almaty will prove no issue for even our second string. And I hate the word second string, our rotated team. That we will get 8 out of 8 with the highest goal difference, lowest goals against. That's really impressive. The league phase really does suit us, doesn't it, Joe, this league phase?
Yeah, it really does, mate. Like you said, the record that we have is outstanding. If you look at the games we've played, Bayern, Inter, I mean, the top European sides, Atletico, we haven't just waltzed through against nothing opposition. We've had difficult games, and the fact we've won them all, obviously we've not played Kairat yet, but I mean,
convincingly as well. But convincingly as well, Joe. These have not been games where we wilted against Bayern Munich or we wilted against Inter or against Atletico. We beat them convincingly, didn't we, Joe? I would say. Am I wrong to think?
No, I'd agree with you. I think that it's just been outstanding performances, isn't it? But again, it comes back to what I think is a massive part of why we've done what we've done, and that is because in these European games, teams aren't parking the bus. Teams aren't sticking 10 men behind the ball like we get in the Premier League every week. Teams are sort of trying to play their own game and try and beat Arsenal. And at the moment, we're just proving we're better than everyone else. And I just hope, that it kind of continues into May, because if it does, we could potentially be sort of doing something we've all dreamed of seeing Arsenal do, and none of us have ever seen us do it. So long may it continue, mate. Hopefully, like I said, teams keep doing it. I imagine once we get to the knockout phases, teams will wise up to us a bit and maybe sort of play in a certain way. But the fact that we've secured that home leg second in every knockout round, it could be such a huge thing, mate, because potentially now Arsenal, if they wanted to, I don't think they will do this, but they could go away to all these opposition grounds, park the bus, get a 0-0, and then teams have got to come to the Emirates and play against us, and Arsenal will fancy their chances every day of the week of winning the home game. So hopefully the draw will be kind to us. Hopefully we'll get a bit of luck along the way, because I think you need it if you're going to win these big competitions. But what a position we've put ourselves in. And against Kairat, I think you could see, I mean, I wouldn't be against seeing an under-21s team play, to be honest, mate. Just throw all the kids in, let them go and have a run out, save everyone's legs. Don't let anyone have any minutes who's going to sort of participate going on through the season. And let's just get through that game with no injuries, and let's just get moving and get into the knockout business.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that, as you said, we avoid the playoff round, which is something we absolutely did not want to be in. It means an extra 2 games. We are now free within, I think it's February, isn't it? The playoff games. And that's a bonus, because it means that we can get some rest. And it's such a big thing. And as you said, we get the home draws in the rounds going forward in the second leg.
Also looks
Joe,
like Man City
really
might be ending up in them playoff games potentially if results don't go their way, which could be a massive benefit to us in the league.
My heart bleeds. I feel so sorry for them that they lost to Bodo Glimt. Bodo Glimt. Let me reiterate that. Bodo Glimt. It takes a lot to beat, teams in those kind of areas. Only a few teams can do that. But Joe, we're going to move away from our Champions League game and look at the Premier League game this weekend against Man United. So obviously this weekend on Sunday is the big one against Manchester United, who come to the Emirates in good form as well, having beaten City pretty convincingly in the Manchester derby. Joe, this is a interesting one. I think, as usual, and I keep saying this, and if you know me, I have been on the All or Nothing documentary from Amazon, and I said Man United always turn up. They always do. This is not, I think no Arsenal fan, unless you're completely deluded, has any airs about this being an easy game. United have, I don't think, turned the corner, but they're starting to find out a little bit more about themselves, and they have the quality in abundance in terms of their attack. You look at Bruno Fernandes is one of the best attacking midfielders. As much as I hate him, he's one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. They've got Brian Mbeumo, Benjamin Sesko, Matthias Cunha, Amad Diallo. Very good attacking players. This is, again, exciting game, and we should be winning it. But Joe, not to be taken lightly, is it, this weekend?
No, not at all, mate. And all you have to do is look at the game at Old Trafford when United were absolutely in the mud. First game of the season, coming off the back of obviously what they'd done last year. And to be fair, when we went to Old Trafford, they gave us a lot of problems. And it wasn't, we got the 3 points in the end, but it wasn't an easy win for us. I think we rode our luck at times. I think David Raya made a few outstanding saves in that game as well. So, United and Arsenal, it's always a big game. It's never, in recent history, it's never one team just walked all over the other. It's always a tight affair. So it's going to be a difficult game. Like you said, they've got a very good team. They'll be buzzing off the back of beating City so convincingly.
And they've had a week off, haven't they, as well? That's the other thing. They've had the week off.
Had a week on the training pitch with Michael Carrick to kind of work on whatever they want to do. Have a week to kind of implement any plan they want to sort of produce against Arsenal. And we saw when we played them in the FA Cup at the Emirates last year how stodgy and horrible that game was. So we know what they're capable of doing. They've got players in the sort of attacking areas who can make things happen. So it'll be a difficult game, mate. And it's one that, don't get me wrong, like we always say, Arsenal at home, Arsenal should be looking to win this game. If you want to win the league, these are the moments you have to go and seize upon, because they've taken 3 points of the City for us. So we've got to now go and really kind of ram home our advantage and take 3 points off of United and just show that there's that daylight between us. But we know football's not that simple, mate. It's going to be a horrible game. It's going to be difficult. United will be buzzing. So, yeah, get us to the Emirates, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely teeming down again just for us to get nice and wet to really add to the real kind of the joy of being there.
But we know what to expect, don't we? Because United don't do anything else at the moment. They're going to play low block, counter-attack. They've got the weapons to do that. Brian Mbeumo played in a kind of a false nine in the last game, and I expect him actually to do that again. Because if you put Benjamin Sesko, and I think he's got a lot better Sesko actually since the season's gone on. But for Gabriel and Saliba, that's kind of, they can go against that. If you have Brian Mbeumo dropping off, then it's a bit harder to determine where do you go, who's you going to mark up. And I think that suits them at the moment, that to be that kind of counter-attacking, very much unorthodox approach, which we assume it's going to be. The question will be in the midfield, because I think the midfield is where if we can get hold of them, that's the domination point where we can, beat them, because their midfield, Casemiro, who looks like he's leaving at the end of the season, he's announced he's leaving. And I would assume as well, Kobe Mainoo, who's come back into the team, but you'd assume Zubimendi and Rice should be the more dominant, shouldn't you, there in that midfield?
Yeah, they should be, mate. I think, I think from my personal point of view, they're the better players.
Kobe Mainoo's done very well, though, in the last game, and it was a tragedy that
Kobe Mainoo's been brilliant, mate, but he's not had any consistent minutes, as he's not had consistent game time this year. So he's brilliant at game, but I think if you look at what Rice and Zubimendi have done for us since the start of the season, I don't think you can dispute that they are in the better form. They're the better players. And like we kind of said, I'd expect them to run the midfield in this game, to be perfectly honest with you. I think they have all the attributes to combat what United will want to do in the middle of the pitch. I think, like you said, they'll play that kind of counter-attacking style just because it suits them. They've got a lot of quick players. They'll look to soak up the pressure and hit us on the break. We know that the transition game is something we've struggled with at times. So Arsenal have to be aware of that. But again, mate, we keep going back to it. With the squad we have and with the players we're able to call upon, this has to be a game where Arsenal have to go and win it. They have to. Anything less than a win for me, and it's another kind of, like we said, the Forest game, the Liverpool game. Until Arsenal sort of win these games and sort of really kind of put down a marker, there's going to be these questions over them. So I think they've got to go and win this game, because the more kind of chances like that we miss, the more encouragement that gives to City just to keep going and stay with us. We need to kind of lay a few death blows on them and go, okay, it's 7. All right, it's gone to 10 this weekend. Oh, it's gone to 11 the following. And before you know it, it's gone. Like, you just have to look at Liverpool and us last year. We was with them for a certain amount of time, but as soon as that points kind of got to around 7, 8, you knew that Arsenal were, okay, let's start looking elsewhere. Let's maybe look at a Champions League. And if we can get other teams doing that and take their eye off the ball in the league, it'll just make things more, hopefully, more comfortable for us. But it all starts with getting the wins in these sort of games.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We need to press home that advantage. We should have done it against both Forest and Liverpool. With respect, and we're going to talk about in our Premier Predictors game, City are going to play Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we should expect City to beat them. But this is just another marker that we have to lay down, that we can beat, a rival. And no matter what you say, Man United are up there again. They've improved. I think it was a little disconcerting for Amorim to be fired, but again, there was other concerns around that. But no fan should be taking this lightly. Man United are not as good as they were, but they're not as bad as they were before either. That's the problem. And I think with weapons such as Cunha and Mbeumo, with pace and power, and Sesko off the bench potentially, Bruno Fernandes is a dangerous player. He can pop up anywhere. This is one that Arteta should be looking at and saying, this is not going to be an easy test. Don't take it lightly. Get the 3 points however you need to, set pieces, whatever, because their defense is not that great either. That's where part of their weakness will lie. But you know how they're going to set up. Diego Dallo will start. Dorgu against Saka, I'm not sure if that's going to work. So I think Diego Dallo may come to the left-hand side to combat Saka, because that's obviously the problem. But then you've got Trossard who can do damage on that right-hand side. So it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a really tactical game. Michael Carrick going up against Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta doesn't know Carrick's game very well because obviously they never played each other. It was in, I think, and I don't think they met when he was at Middlesbrough. So it'd be really interesting to see how that goes. But Joe, how do you think we're going to line up? Let's go with your lineup. What do you think? Who do you think will, given the rotations, given the people who started, how do you think we're going to line up for this one?
For this one, I think he'll go, considering what happened against Forest, I think he'll go full tilt. So I think it'll be Raya in goal. I think you'll see Timber at left back, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White at right back. Okay. I think you'll see Zubimendi, Rice and Odegaard. Obviously, Odegaard's had the week off. Rice has pretty much had the week off as well. Then up top, I think it'll be Saka, Trossard.
Well, this is the one, isn't it? Because he scored 2 in the week, and Gyökeres scored as well.
Both your strikers have scored against Inter, so which one does he stick with Jesus, considering he's got 2 goals? And then you bring Gyökeres on as that battering ram later on, or do you start Gyökeres and bring Jesus on for that bit of finesse later on in the game? I think he'll go Gyökeres, and then I think he'll want to bring Jesus on later in the game once there's maybe a bit more, kind of a bit more room to operate in. But I think he'll want the kind of the running power and the way that Gyökeres will occupy defenders rather than Jesus, who would obviously like to drop in deep and could potentially crowd that space where Martin Odegaard would be.
It'd be interesting because obviously he's going up against Harry Maguire, and obviously Gyökeres tends to back into the defenders. I hope he doesn't do that so much that it becomes the focal point. You want him to hold the ball up, but also I think you want him to find the space to ensure that spaces are available for him to allow Saka, Trossard to get in, and Odegaard. Odegaard is going to have a big role in this one because I think he's been poor in the last couple of weeks. You really need him to start finding balls out to the attacking players with regularity, I think. I don't want him coming so deep that he's just doing that and not doing anything else. That it's just he's a deep line playmaker. That's not what he needs to be in this game, does he, Joe?
No, that's for me, mate. That's why at times I've preferred Eze, because yes, he might not be sort of putting up the G's, as many G's and A's as you want, but you know that he's always in the number 10 position. He's occupying midfield. He's occupying the space where he should be. My big frustration with Odegaard at times is just how deep he comes. I know he loves to dictate the game. I know he loves to get on the ball and kind of set our tempo and whatnot. But at times I feel like he can be more of a hindrance when he's getting into those sort of, when Timber's been at right back. Timber's brilliant on the ball. Timber can really make things happen, whether he's picking a pass or whether he's travelling with it. And when Odegaard drops in there to pick up, I feel like you just take that entire kind of element of Timber's game away. Similar to when he's kind of floating around. And obviously, if he's over there, then Trossard, Martinelli, whoever's on the left-hand side is so massively isolated because you've lost the player who's meant to be kind of supporting them up there.
Yeah.
So, no, Odegaard, he's due a good game against United after the horror show of last year. So, yeah, I think the week off, hopefully, mate, will give him... We'll see a real fresh Odegaard, and you'll see that Odegaard who just flies around the pitch, really good sort of in the press, and will hopefully dictate the game, potentially come up with another goal like he did not so long ago, where he just picks up an edge of the box, fires one in, maybe slipping some balls through to the likes of Gyökeres, potentially Saka. Yeah, need a big game from Odegaard, absolutely, because without that number 10 role, you've seen how much we struggle to create chances and really kind of force opposition back by sort of having the ball in those attacking areas.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to come to our predictions shortly in the predictors game with Joseph. But Joe, I want to touch upon a bit of transfer news that's happened this week. Ethan Nwaneri has joined Marseille on loan for the rest of the season. How do you view this one? This is, I think, is a good move. Hopefully, if he gets game time, De Zerbi, we've seen it with William Saliba. He, going to a different system and a different country. Although Saliba was from France, but I think Ethan Nwaneri needs the game time, doesn't he? He needs just a new setting just to freshen himself up and get the games that he needs and influencing a team who are playing in Champions League still. Have they qualified yet? I don't think they have they yet? Where are they? Hold on.
I'm going to bow to your superior knowledge on this one, mate. My Marseille knowledge, is somewhat limited.
They're 19th, so they've got to if they win the next game, they'll still qualify into the next phase. But you do want him to get that game time, don't you? Just so that he can, we know Ethan's got the quality. I think this season, the problem is obviously we've got so much depth there with Eze and Odegaard. Marino's played in that role as well. So it's needed for him, isn't it, to go out to France? And I think hopefully De Zerbi will get the best out of him.
Yeah, I think Ethan can consider himself slightly unfortunate this year, mate, because I know we've got sort of a wealth of options, but I still think he's been underutilised, to be honest. I still think there's times when he would have been better coming into the team in certain games, coming off the bench. So he's been unfortunate because I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's just unfortunate that he is so young and we've now got a proper squad. But like I said, I definitely would have used him more than what Arteta's done personally. But no, the move to Marseille could be ideal, man. It speaks volumes that from what we hear, Arteta's kind of pressed forward in terms of this negotiation because he wants him to go and work with De Zerbi. We know De Zerbi, how good a manager he is. We've sort of got first-hand experience of what he done at Brighton and saw how he worked and how well they played. So it could be a really good teacher for Nwaneri to go there and kind of learn how to play, what's kind of expected of him in defensive sort of transitions, how he can be better when he's got the ball, what he can do to influence games more. So no, everything looks like it should work well for him, mate. It's not a top tier team who are like a PSG where he'd be kind of similar to Arsenal being brought in for certain games, but in the big games, the manager would go back to playing the players he trusts. Marseille, they're kind of just under that level, I feel, no disrespect, but it's a team where you'd expect him to start the majority of games. And the more game time he gets, the more he'll develop. And I think the thing we kind of forget sometimes is just how young he is. So if he goes to Marseille for 6 months, absolutely smashes it, and then comes back into the team next year, he's still only 18, 19. And he's still got such a long kind of career ahead of him. I only see benefits to this, to be honest.
Yeah, the main thing is he gets the game time and that he gets the experience, especially in a different league as well. He needs that kind of understanding that, it's not always going to be the same game every week, and you can't. He needs also some discipline as well, and I think in his is where he positions himself. But really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. I'm going to be watching some Marseille games with a concerted eye. But Joe, another question that's come up is obviously the window is open. A few movements starting to happen now. We've heard Andy Robertson is in negotiation with Tottenham for a move. Obviously, Mark Gahey has completed his move to City. Pepper's cried to Daddy and got what he wanted. But he may be crying again after this week. Daddy, I need a new striker. Have you got 50 million somewhere to help me get someone else? But there are moves happening. But do you think Arsenal are going to go into the window? Oh, are we going to spend this window, or do you think, look, we spent our money, we rounded out our squad really well, and there's unless it's an amazing opportunity that comes along or a loan, I just don't see anything happening. Do you, Joe?
No, I think Arsenal have done their business, mate. I think for me personally, the only thing I see us potentially doing is buying a young player who will join us in the future. He won't come in this window. There may be a deal or two where you see Arsenal sort of buying up a young kid or a young player, if you like, from the South America, Europe, wherever it might be, with sort of the future in mind. But I don't see anyone being brought in who will affect how we do this season. Whether that will change by the end of the transfer window, depending on injury situations, potential suspensions, whatever the case might be. Obviously, Arsenal have got to be alive to something, because if, like we said, if we've seen before, if an injury happens or if multiple injuries happen and we need to fill somewhere in, at least we've got the option now that we can loan someone. Obviously, that option last year was ruined by the fact we had Neto and Sterling both in at the same time. So at least we've got an option if we need it, but I can't see it, mate. What about you?
No, I think unless a very good opportunity presents itself, and I mean one of the summer signings, then it won't happen. Because we saw with Antoine Semenyo, who was on our list, we weren't going to compete for him. He asked to move if we can move now. We said we're not going to guarantee anything. So I highly doubt there'll be a move here unless, as you said, some injury happens or there's an opportunity that presents itself. I think it's just we've done our business. We've done really well. In the years past, we've been crying out for a signing at this point. This year, we're very calm, aren't we? It's all calmer right now, just very, very good. And it's a testament to Bertrand Arteta that we're not bothered at the moment. It really is, and it's a good thing. But Joe, that's all the transfer news, because there's not much to talk about in terms of transfers. We're going to go now to the predictors game, so we'll come back to that in a second. It's predictor time. So Joe, I leave it in your capable hands.
Thank you, Em. So funny you mentioned capable hands when it comes to predictions, because both of us had a shocker again last week.
This is not going well. It's not going well, Brev, is it?
No, I mean, the break didn't do us very good yet.
I know I got one.
You did better than I did, to be fair. So out of the 10 games, you got 2 correct scores. You got the Sunderland Palace 2-1.
Yeah.
And you got Brighton Bournemouth 1-1.
That was the one. I was watching because it was like Brighton hadn't scored. I was like, come on, Brighton. I know you can get one. Then the new Greek striker got a worldie. And I was like,
yeah,
yes!
bicycle kick, wasn't it? Yeah. Great goal. So yeah, you got 25 points, mate, because you also got Leeds beating Fulham, just not a correct score for that one. I got 20 points, so you won by 5.
So it's equal again. It's all equal. It's all
equal again. Equal in our mediocrity, shall we say?
Equal in our mediocrity.
I got, what correct score did I get? I got correct score for Leeds Fulham. And then I got a correct result in the Palace Sunderland game and the Brighton Bournemouth game. But the less said about that week, the better, mate. So let's move on to this week.
This week is the recovery. It's where it all turns around, isn't it?
Let's just see if we can start getting better at this at some point, because we're halfway through a season and we're struggling. Opening game of the weekend will be West Ham at home to Sunderland.
Ooh, this one is interesting. West Ham, I still don't think they're good enough. I think they're really struggling, although they got the winner against Tottenham last week. Lovely. But I still think Sunderland are the better team. I think they're just really good defensively. They seem to get results. Brobby is just starting to come into his own. I think Sunderland are going to get an away result here. I'm going for a 2-1 to Sunderland. That's technically a 1-2. It's not a 2-1, Joe. Don't get that wrong.
2-1 Sunderland. Yeah, I would fancy Sunderland to get a result against West Ham, to be honest, mate. West Ham hadn't won in God knows how long until it all got very Spursy again, which is always hilarious.
I loved it. Last minute as well. What a time to do it. Callum Wilson, you legend.
Yeah, it's just Spurs are the gift that just keeps on giving this year, aren't they? I know, like, they give us moments every now and again, but it feels like every week they do something to entertain us currently.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Sunderland, they've not, I think last time out they beat Palace 2-1, but they had some good draws against sort of Tottenham and I think City it was.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a Sunderland win. I'm going to go for. You've taken 2-1, Yen. I'm not
You
going to
can
do a
still
2-1.
use it.
No,
There's nothing in the
I don't
rule.
like doing that. Once you've taken it, I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Sunderland.
Fair enough.
Next one, you mentioned this one earlier, mate. Man City at home to Wolves.
Oh my God. I would love to predict the Erling Haaland hat-trick, and every time I do, it doesn't happen. I think this is still going to not be a walkover. I think Wolves have got better actually since Rob Edwards has come in. I think, but City should have enough quality. Mark Gahey certainly will be starting this game. Semenyo will be starting. I think it's going to be a 3-0 to City on this one.
I think Wolves defensively have been pretty good recently. They've done a real good improvement. At the Emirates, they were very good against us.
Don't do it, Joe. You don't look as much as you want to say it. Don't do it because you know it ain't going to happen.
I'm going to go for. You're right, yeah. What am I thinking? I'm going to go 2-0 City.
Exactly. Why are you?
I think it'll be a City win, but I don't think it'll be as comfortable
I
as
don't think they're
many
comfortable
people
either.
think it'll be.
But I still think they've got enough quality, even if Haaland's not striking. Semenyo's had the week off
Yeah.
because he can't play Champions League. And then you've
Very
got
good
Gahey
point.
can't
Yeah.
play Champions League. So two fresh players. Gahey certainly will, reinforce the back line.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how he copes with that change. He should slot in, but there will be times aerially where they can't cope because, again, they haven't got very much height in that defence, I've noticed.
No. Next one we have is Fulham at home to Brighton.
This one's got draw written all over it because Brighton aren't exactly amazing. They won last time, but that was last minute. Fulham, again, not great either. It's kind of par for the course. I'm going to go with a 1-1 here, actually.
1-1. I'm thinking someone's going to win this game. I'm thinking it's going to be a 2-1. I just don't know who it's going to be because I can see it being a draw for a lot of the game, and then someone nicks a goal in sort of the 80 to 90 minutes or
Who's
region.
got the quality? Who's got the quality?
I'm going to go for the simple reason they're at home for a Fulham win. I think they've been in slightly better form than Brighton. Not much in it, but we'll give Fulham the benefit of the doubt. This could be an interesting one. Burnley at home to Tottenham.
Well, Andy Robinson can't play because he wasn't registered before 12 o'clock, so he's not going to join. I still think Tottenham have got enough. They're better away from home, but they have played in the Champions League this week. I think it's going to be a 2-1 Spurs. So.
Yeah. I would absolutely love to say that Burnley were going to win this or Burnley were going to get a draw out of it, but I just don't think they've got enough. I mean, both are terrible, really, at the moment. Both Spurs and Burnley are not in good form, are they? Do you know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Ooh, that is bold. You're assuming Burnley will keep to 1 only.
Yeah, but this is Tottenham.
I know, but Tottenham actually can score.
Tottenham love to dangle a carrot for me at the moment, mate. So we're gonna go bold. After my horror show last week, we're going to be a bit bolder in our predictions.
Okay, fair enough.
Bournemouth at home to Liverpool.
Hard one to say. Liverpool have started to find a little bit more form again. I'm glad we're out of the way of them. But Bournemouth equally are not mugs at all. I think they're a really good side. I still think I'm going to say Liverpool will win this 2-1 on this one. I just think they'll sneak a goal somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think Bournemouth at home are a slightly different animal. Liverpool have been better, but I think Liverpool's better performances have come in the big games, like against us, where they get up to them. Against Bournemouth will be the team getting up for it because Liverpool coming to town. So it could sort of have the role reversal on Liverpool. But let us see. Newcastle against Villa.
It's a tasty one, isn't it?
That's an interesting one.
It's at St James's. I think Newcastle will win this one, actually. I think as well. Villa played a day later. I know that doesn't make that much difference, but I think Newcastle will win this. At St James's Park is a different story. It's always a different story. I think this is going to be a 3-2.
Ooh, plenty of goals.
Plenty of goals. I think they're both really, they're very similar in terms of how they are in terms of their form. I think Newcastle still aren't amazing at the moment, and their position says that, but Aston Villa aren't. I don't think. I think they're going to fall away in the title race. I think they've done really well to get this far, but I think they're struggling as well without. They've had to make some PSR cuts, and obviously that's starting to tell a little bit. And obviously, Kamara's out now for the season, I believe. That's a big one.
Yeah, very like you said, they're very similar, aren't they? Very similar teams. Do you know what? I know I've just said 2-2, but I'm going to go for another 2-2. I can see this one being a draw.
Desmond, it's all Desmond's all round, isn't it?
Desmond's for everyone, mate.
Desmond's
Palace
for
at home
everyone.
to Chelsea.
Here's my one, 2-2.
2-2.
Desmond. I'm just going to say Desmond from now whenever I want a 2-2.
Desmond is absolutely fine, mate. Palace and Chelsea. I'm going to go Palace at home, but they're in a bit of turmoil now, aren't they? I'm going to go for I'm going to go for a Chelsea 2-0 win. I just think, given what's going on at Palace at the moment,
do you think Mateta will start, or will he be? Because he said he's pretty much out.
It's just chaos over there at the moment now, isn't it? With what Glasner said, and then obviously Gahey's gone. Mateta's come out and said he doesn't want to stay there.
That. So. Do you know what? Forget my 2-2. I think it's going to be a 2-0 as well, because I think they're.
Do you want me to change it to a 2-0?
Yeah, I think they're in trouble, aren't they? This has got the hallmarks of an internal, of a combustible.
How upset are you going to be when this game finishes 2-2 now, Ian?
I'm going to be annoyed.
Brentford at home to Forest.
I think Brentford will win this one. I think Brentford are really good. I think Forest defensively were really good, but it wasn't great against us. I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Brentford.
Wow. 3-1 Brentford. Okay. I can't even think who Brentford played recently. They've been in quite good form, haven't they? I think
they've been in very good form.
I know they lost to Chelsea last time, but I think before that they was on quite a good run. So you've gone 3-1 Brentford, have you? I'm going to go for. I'm going to 2-1 Brentford.
They beat Sunderland. They beat Everton. They've beaten Wolves, Bournemouth 4-1.
I'm going 2-1. I think that Igor Jesus has been quite good for Forest up top. I could see him getting a goal. Morgan Gibbs-White, obviously a good player as well, but I think Brentford at home should probably have enough. I'm going to flip it so we finish with the big game of the weekend. So first we'll do Everton at home to Leeds, which is the Monday night football.
I think Everton will win this one. I think just about. I think it's going to be a 2-1. I think Leeds are in very good form.
2-1 Everton, you think?
Yeah.
2-1 Everton. I think. Sean Dyche. I'm going to go for Everton. I'm going to go Everton 1-0.
And Everton 1-0. Okay.
Yeah, I think at the Hill Dickinson they're a better organised outfit, aren't they?
Okay, enough.
I think Sean Dyche will have them ready for that one. So yeah, I think they could keep a clean sheet. I think Leeds have been playing very well. Have been in good form, Leeds, but the Sean Dyche team don't mess about, do they? So could be a bit of a come down from. So yeah, the Sunday late kickoff, the big one. Arsenal at home to Manchester United.
Now, I was thinking about my usual score. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I can see exactly what
I was thinking about it. But do you know what? I'm going to go 3-1 for Arsenal on this one.
Ooh, wow. Big.
It took everything, every fibre of my being to say that. Do you understand how hard it is? I'm literally going
I do know. I know. It's like picking your favourite child, I appreciate that saying not 2-1 is difficult for you. So to make it even worse for you, I'm going to go for 2-1 Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
I think United will get a goal, simply because we've not looked as resolute defensively as we have done recently. And I think they've got some good pace in the transition, which is, like I said earlier, is where we struggle. But given what we're capable of setting from set pieces, how we performed in the week, the fact we've been able to rest a few players, I think we've got to come into this game and just get the 3 points. Whether we win 1-0, 2-1, 9-8, whatever it is, just get the 3 points and let's just get back to winning ways.
3 points is the must here, isn't it? That's the must.
Absolutely.
But Joe, that's it. Lock in those results into the supercomputer.
They're locked
And
into the not so supercomputer game at the moment, but they are there. Don't worry.
kick the computer, make sure it's working, and make sure it's stored everything.
Our computer had dial-up broadband. Yeah, that's how much we're struggling with it at the moment.
We are modern here. We're so modern on this podcast. But Joe, hopefully come back in the next show where we look at a hopeful win. We said this last time and it didn't turn out that way. So
we did. Well, the last couple of league games, mate, we've been saying about we want to come away with wins and we haven't done. So third time lucky, hopefully.
Are you going to the game this weekend?
I am, mate. Yeah, I am. Are you going?
Same here. So yes, I am. I can't wait. Can't wait for this one. But Joe, we'll leave it there. Thank you to everyone who's listened. If you do enjoy the content, please do consider subscribing on whatever channel you're listening to us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the comments that we get. It makes a difference. Make sure you like our content as well. It does help with the algorithm. But for now, Joe, we'll leave it there. Thank you as always. And we'll catch everyone next time on the next edition of Red Lines Half Spaces. Goodbye for now.